I have created many a Pinterest tutorial over the years, from how to create engaging pins to how to monetize on Pinterest. But ironically, the one video that I haven't made yet is how to get started on Pinterest if you are an absolute beginner. So let's change that and take it from the start. So today I'm going to walk you through getting started on Pinterest, from account setup to learning best practices that have helped me gain 25,000 followers on the platform and help grow my creator income without stress. So to start out, what is Pinterest and how can it help your online business? Pinterest is essentially a visual search engine, which means something pretty cool. It means that it combines the best of both worlds, from a traditional search engine as well as the components of what you would expect to find on a social media platform. This is such a great combination of two of the best types of places to market your services and your content. And that pretty much makes Pinterest a unicorn amongst other platforms. One of the best parts about Pinterest, hands down, is that you can find success on the platform if you are super niche down and talk about just one topic, or if you like to go broad and talk about multiple topics. And that is because of some features on the platform we'll talk about later on in this video. But unlike on some other platforms, you're not punished for not just recreating the one video that went viral and brought you a ton of followers, and you're also not punished for having multiple interests. Another huge benefit of Pinterest is the lifespan of the content that you create. So on a typical social media platform, on a short form platform like TikTok or Instagram Reels, that content really tends to spike within the first 48 to 72 hours after you've created and posted it. However, on Pinterest, that content can still show up in the search results and still be surfaced to new people and new eyeballs for weeks, months, or even sometimes years after you've initially created it. Things that I've pinned years ago still bring new followers to my profile, new subscribers to my email list, and new customers to my digital products and services. Now that you have an understanding of what Pinterest is, let me share my screen and walk you through how to set up your Pinterest account. Okay, so let's discuss setting up our Pinterest profile. So here is my main profile. I've got a cover image and profile picture. I've got a username here. I'm actually verified by Pinterest, which is cool. And then I've got my website, a little bio, and you can see all of my metrics here. Now I'm going to walk through the process of setting up a new account with you guys because I am going to create a Pinterest account for my podcast, which just launched. So here are the options for what to do next. Now, you might be inclined to click create personal account because it's front and center, but we're actually going to create a free business account. So if you're using Pinterest for a business of any kind, whether you're a content creator, a small business owner, a freelancer, you're going to want the business account. It's free to create and you're going to get much more information, especially on the analytic front. And you're going to have the capability to ultimately run ads and things like that if that's something you're interested in too. So I'm going to create my free business account with my podcast email. Okay, so once I've entered my email, password, and birth date, which 30th birthday is coming up soon, guys. Very exciting. You can describe your business. I'm going to select content creator, I guess. I could select publisher or media, but really I'm a content creator. Tell us about your business. Just filling in those details. Next, what are your 3 business goals? I'm going to select grow brand awareness and drive traffic to website. And the primary focus, since my podcast is kind of broad, I'm just going to select other for now. So from here, it gives you 3 options of where to start. I would definitely recommend with starting out by building your profile, which is what we're going to do. So here is where you're going to add in your profile information. And if you remember from my account that I showed you before, this is that kind of header of your profile that we were looking at. So first thing I'm going to do is my name is already good to go. That's the podcast name. I'm going to add a photo. I feel like my podcast cover is very text heavy, so I'm just going to add this C graphic that I created as kind of a favicon or alternative logo in Canva because I think it will look better on Pinterest. It'll look better on this social profile. So hopefully that's loading there in a second. And then under About, this is the little bio section that you saw before. Now, When I had my name set up, I actually had Austen Tosone, and then I had a little line, and then I put NYC creator next to it. So one thing to keep in mind is your name in Pinterest is searchable. So you might want to consider adding some kind of modifier. So if your name is Rachel and you're a wedding photographer, you might want to put like Rachel M, New York City wedding photographer as your name, because people might be searching for something like that, especially if they're looking to hire a service owner or a business owner. And then in the About section, you can put Tell Your Story. So you can take inspiration here from things like your Instagram bio or your About page of your website. But again, I do think that adding in any keywords that you're able to further help Pinterest understand what your account is about is going to be key. For purposes of this, I'm just going to go ahead and grab my little bio line here that I have on Instagram, and then I'm going to add hosted by me in case anyone's searching for me. I'll add my pronouns. I don't think it's super helpful here in a brand perspective, but if people want to know it's a female-founded podcast, as if the pink and purple gradient didn't give that away. Then down here, this is already filling in some information here. I'm going to leave it as is. It already asked for my website, so I'm going to keep that there. Actually, for username, guys, I'm just going to do create and consume pod because that's what I have on my other platforms. For your username, you can obviously make this whatever you want. This will be your handle that appears after the root domain URL on Pinterest. I feel like I already gave them my email address, but here it is again, long email. And then I'm pretty sure on my other profile, I've left all of this blank down here. I don't see why they need my phone number or address. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So here is what the profile is looking like so far. We've got the name, bio, pronouns, handle, website. For the website, we're going to want to claim the website. So the way you do that is in your settings, you're going to go to claim accounts and you're going to go to claim your website. I won't go through this whole process right now, but basically I'm going to take this HTML tag and add it to my podcast website so that Pinterest and my podcast website are connected and they know this Pinterest account is associated with this website. I do think it's helpful that you do this, especially if one of your goals is to drive traffic to a blog or website. Now, looking at this, I am realizing two things I want to add, one of which is to see if I can fit my email for the podcast in the description here. I think this is totally optional. If you want to add a way for people to contact you easily, they can also ultimately find it if they click over to the website. If you're a content creator, I would definitely add your email address in case any brands see your page and want to reach out to you. And then for cover image, I feel like I've created some stuff already for the website that might also work for the cover image. So obviously I have this, that's my YouTube banner. I have something like this that's kind of cute too. Let's try this and see how it looks. All right, so for now, I'm just going to reuse what I had for my YouTube channel. You can always go back and change this later, but I think it is nice to add something here. So I did add my email address here. It is showing up in the More section, but I did add this little emoji so people could see that there might be an email there if they click through. Okay, so now that I have this looking the way that I wanted it to, we're going to scroll down, and under the Created tab here, you're going to see that there's nothing to show yet because I have not uploaded anything. So let's click into Create Pin. So what is a pin? A pin is your main content piece. It is basically like a post on Instagram or a video on TikTok. And Pinterest used to have lots of different terms for pins. They used to have idea pins, static pins, video pins. Luckily for us, someone said, enough of that. Let's just call them pins and give them all the same functionalities. So creating a pin has never been easier. Now, each pin has a few different components to it. First, we're going to upload media, and I'm just going to upload a graphic that shows the first episode, and I'm going to upload the vertical one because vertical content generally performs better on Pinterest. So this is not the world's most exciting pin by any means. This was actually what I used as the reel cover to share a little snippet from the episode, but for purposes of this video, it'll work for us. As you scroll down, you'll see that there are several elements to each pin. So first, you're going to give it a title, Then you're going to give it a description. You can think of this as similar to the caption of an Instagram post. One huge benefit of Pinterest that we don't get on other social media platforms is that you can add a link to every single pin that you create. And then we also have the option to add a pin to a board. Let's circle back on that in 1 second. You also have tags here. Unlike hashtags on Instagram, these are not visible to people who are looking at your pins. So it's almost like the metadata of a blog post where you're just giving additional information that people who are scrolling through Pinterest will not see. You can also tag and add products. This is great if you're creating affiliate-focused content. And then you also have some other options down here. You can publish at a later date. I'll talk about scheduling later in this video. You can allow people to comment. I would always keep this on. And you can toggle on this feature down here called Show Similar Products. In general, I recommend turning this off, especially if you are adding your own products and you want to make sure you're getting affiliate commission. You don't want Pinterest suggesting other products there. So make sure you toggle that little option down below so that you have that checked the way you want it to be checked. Let me quickly fill in this information and then we'll talk about boards. Okay, so I filled out the title, a little description. I linked to my website, to the blog post for this episode, rather than linking to Spotify or Apple. I always want to still be driving traffic back to my website because there's kind of a hub there. And then I also added some tags and scheduled the pin. Now, I want to create a few different boards within my Pinterest account. Now, this is a reason why if you have multiple interests, Pinterest is a great platform for you. Each board can be its own topic, and you can have pins go and get lots of views and impressions and click-throughs no matter what board they're really on. So on my other account, like my primary account for me as an influencer, I have boards for things like nail art or apartment decor or skincare, hair. Like you can be as broad or as specific as you'd like to be. I would recommend trying to pick a keyword if possible, like something people might be searching for on Pinterest to use as the title for your boards. So since we're dealing with my podcast Pinterest account, though, I think the best thing to do would be to create boards for different categories of episodes that I plan to ultimately create. So under Choose a Board, I'm going to create a new board, and I think I'm going to title this one something like either content creation or social media. Okay, so I think I'm actually just going to call this one digital media episodes. You'll see this toggle here, keep this board secret. That would mean that no one who comes onto Pinterest would be able to see it. I myself have a few secret boards, or not really anymore, but I had one like when I was planning my wedding and I didn't want to like have everyone see exactly what I was thinking of doing. There's really no reason to have a secret board on Pinterest if you're trying to market your business. That's more just if you personally want to save things. So I would recommend always keeping your boards public. So I'm going to create this board, digital media episodes. Everything looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and schedule that pin for tomorrow. And then when I come back to my profile here, when I scroll down, I can see that this pin has been scheduled. And then you can also see here that that board for digital media episodes was created. And if you want to create any other boards in the saved tab, you can just come over to the plus button and select board. So I think I'm going to make like 3 or 4 other boards just to start out based on episodes that I've already published. Okay, so now my profile information has been added and I've created my first several boards. So now I'm ready to start adding content to my Pinterest account. Once you've created a few boards and now that you understand the components of a pin, it's time to get pinning. So if you want to add content on desktop, you will go to the top Pinterest menu, you'll go to the create section, and under that you'll select organic pin. On your mobile app, it's even simpler. You just hit the big plus button in the middle of the screen. For each new pin you create, you'll fill in all of the information that I showed you in the screen recording. And from there, you'll assign those pins to a board. Now, before you start pinning everything and anything, I want to encourage you to think about what your ultimate goal with Pinterest is. And you can have content that accomplishes multiple goals, But usually on Pinterest, people are trying to do one of three main things. Your content might be posted with the goal to, number one, drive traffic to a searchable platform like your blog or YouTube channel where you may be monetizing through ad revenue. Number two, to sell your products and or services or get people over to your website to check out your offerings, maybe see your email newsletter freebie, and just generally get to know you and your brand better. Or number three, to earn money through affiliate-focused content. So this could be content featuring products or services that you are an affiliate for, where the link that you're sharing is a link for people to sign up or purchase a product. So when you're brainstorming content ideas for Pinterest, you might want to think about doing one of those three things, because even if you're not monetizing directly on Pinterest as a platform, you can direct people to other areas where you are able to monetize. So for this reason, planning your Pinterest content is something that you'll want to do. Now, if you're looking for 30 evergreen content ideas to kickstart your first month of Pinterest content, I have a list of those ideas for you inside of my free guide, The Influencer Launchpad, which you can access from the link in the description box. Now, when it comes to actually getting your content up onto Pinterest, I like to encourage people to simplify this process as much as possible. So depending on what kind of business you're running, whether you are a graphic designer or a content creator or a consultant or stylist, whatever you might be, you probably already have created content that accomplishes one of the three goals that I discussed earlier. So for that reason, I would strongly encourage you to start with what you already have, repurpose content that you've created already for other platforms, and share that content onto Pinterest. I always tell people that I think of Pinterest like a content sprinkler, where I am taking something I've created already and I'm just kind of throwing it out there to some extra sets of eyes, because you never know who is going to discover your content on Pinterest, who maybe never would have found it otherwise on Instagram or even on your blog. I would say currently that about 80% of the content that I share to Pinterest is repurposed from other platforms, meaning it's already been shared on my blog or on my Instagram or even on my TikTok, and I'm also just bringing it over to Pinterest with the hope that new people on this platform will discover the content. Now, when it comes to best practices for repurposing existing content, I have two words for you: fresh and clean. So you might have heard the term fresh pins if you've done any initial research into Pinterest, and this is something really important to keep in mind, because Pinterest will be prioritizing new content that you upload to the platform. Meaning if you pinned something 3 months ago and you upload the same exact pin with no changes to the platform 3 months later, you're not really going to see any traction on that new pin because you've already uploaded that content piece to Pinterest. So if you're thinking about things in that respect, you might be able to take a single image that you have posted to Pinterest and modify it slightly by importing it into Canva and adding some overlay text or some cute graphics to make it, in a sense, a fresh piece of content. And the second part of that is to upload clean content. So what we mean by clean content is basically any content that does not have copyrighted music on it, does not have a watermark that shows the logo of another platform on it. Those two are honestly the biggest things to think about when we think about a clean piece of content. You don't want to give Pinterest any reason to not share your content more widely. So if you upload just what I call the clean version of the content, where you can still include things like overlay texts or pop-ups if you've already published stuff like that to TikTok or Instagram Reels, but just making sure that there are no copyrighted sounds and that there are no watermarks from those other platforms on your Pinterest content. Also, since as we discussed, Pinterest is a mix of a search engine and a social media platform, you might want to consider experimenting with uploading both more evergreen content to Pinterest, as well as uploading some trending pieces of content. So for example, something that's evergreen that could still be relevant year after year might be something like concert outfit. So that is something that people will probably be searching for year-round because people go to concerts, January through December. However, if you want to do a trending piece of content, you might want to consider something like what to wear to the Eras Tour this summer. Also, I am going to the Eras Tour this summer. As a side note, I'm seeing her in Amsterdam and I am so excited. Probably a vlog or something along those lines to come from that, so stay tuned, stick around. But anyway, you can see how concert outfit is kind of the evergreen piece of content there, whereas what to wear to Taylor Swift The Eras Tour is going to be a more trendy piece of content, because that's something that is currently happening right now and that a lot of people are talking about. So that's just one example of taking the same idea and approaching it from a more trendy perspective to satisfy the more social media component of Pinterest, and taking something that is a more evergreen content idea to satisfy the more SEO-driven side of Pinterest. And you can look at your Pinterest analytics to see which content is performing best. In my experience, I've found that those trendy short-form videos help attract people to my page, but that those evergreen static images help convert people over to the goals that I'm ultimately trying to accomplish, like driving traffic to my website or having people purchase my digital products. And another thing that really simplifies the upload process for me is scheduling your content. Pinterest has both an in-app scheduler that allows you to schedule pins up to 30 days out from the current date that you're on. If you ultimately want to use a more advanced third-party scheduling tool, Tailwind is a big one that a lot of pinners use, and you could also use something like Later that will allow you to schedule content to not just Pinterest, but other social media platforms as well. However, I personally find Pinterest's in-app scheduler to be completely sufficient, no problems there, and what I really like about this is it allows me to be consistent without me needing to remember to post every single day. So scheduling out content is really helpful, especially for any existing content that you're going to be repurposing on Pinterest. One thing, though, that helps speed up my creation and upload process for new pins that I am creating specifically for Pinterest is to have a branded pin template ready to go within Canva. You guys know how I feel about Canva. It is one of my all-time favorite tools to use as a content creator. There is not a day that goes by that the Canva tab is not open on my laptop. And I have a whole video where I talk about designing engaging pins on Canva, which I will link down below. I don't want to take up too much time with that process here, but basically just having a template on Canva where you have a few variations of a design that you like, using colors and fonts that reflect and represent your brand. This is going to speed up the creation process if you ever want to make pins to promote, especially like a long form searchable piece of content. This is something I actually do a lot. I'll show an example on the screen where I usually will use my Canva templates to create usually two pins, one that is kind of a multimedia pin with image and text, and one that is text only to promote a recent YouTube video. So that's how I'm able to use Pinterest to drive some additional traffic to my YouTube channel, in addition to the people here on YouTube who discover me through search or because they're already a subscriber. And speaking of YouTube subscribers, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos from me. We're getting so close to 20,000 subscribers, which is an unreal milestone for me, and this is an amazing free way to support my channel and let YouTube know you enjoy what you just watched. Don't forget to like this video as well, and if you want to learn more about my uploading process, including how I do some keyword research, which is a big part of Pinterest that we didn't cover in this beginner video, but if you'd like to learn more about how I implement that and see a screen recording example, you can watch the up next recommendation on the screen to learn how. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.